to Writing for Film and Other Visual Formats. My name is Monica, and today I'm going to be taking you through note-taking. So whenever you're writing, at some point in time, you're going to be getting feedback on that writing. For the most part, no one is an island. The idea that your script is going to be perfect the first time, I started out feeling that way when I was young. It's like, oh, I'm going to write this brilliant script and then it's being done and then they're rich and famous, it's going to be a movie and ta-da! And that's not how it goes. You're going to be spending a lot of time rewriting anything that you write. It's just the way things get better. And so if you can take into account other people's feedback with a willing spirit, but take things with a grain of salt, you're going to be better off in the end. Your end product script, or whatever you're making, is going to be better. But there's some things to help you kind of navigate getting feedback and not losing your mind, because that can happen. As a writer, you're a delicate little flower, as well as being a titan of strength and industry. You just have to get used to that dichotomy, that you are both those things. And as a delicate flower, you want to make sure that you are setting yourself up to succeed when you're getting feedback. As a titan, you want to make sure that you're not trampling on people who are just trying to help you out. So that's where we're going to start today, is just think about how to help the people who are helping us. So there's a lot of types of feedback that you can get. You can be part of a group and you can workshop something. You can be getting one-on-one feedback. You can be doing this. You can send away for companies to do it for you if you want to get feedback from industry professionals. Or you can just be sitting down with trusted readers. The difference, if you are being paid to write something, you're going to need to take more of the feedback that you're getting from someone than less. Like, it can't be just that you're like, oh, I'm just not going to do that. You're going to have to figure out how everybody's needs can get met. That's the thing. But when you're all by your lonesome, you're doing a spec script, you're going to want to put together either a group of readers or a reader. You just want to be people that you trust. They don't have to be in the industry that you're in, but they should be people who like to read or like your genre, or have some background in writing or film or literature or whatever you're looking for. So that's the first thing. It is not crucial that the person that is your reader likes the genre that you write. They just need to understand it and be able to get you feedback. My partner does not necessarily love the genres I write in, especially if I'm writing in horror. So it's one of those things that when we got together and I was like a little kid bringing my script up and like, hey, do you want to check this out? We had to have a little bit of a talk. First of all, what did I expect? Was I just looking for an atta girl, you finished your script, good job? Or was I looking for actual feedback? And was I going to be okay if he gave me critical feedback on something? Was the little small person in me going to be okay with some serious criticism? And so at first I said, yes, of course, I've been through grad school twice, I'm going to be fine. But when it's coming from somebody that you do trust, but that's your person, you have to really work at maintaining your optimism and your equilibrium when you're getting feedback from somebody you care about. And it's been a really good process because he gives great notes. On the other hand, too, there's points in time where I wish he was a little less honest. He was making little notes in the side margin one time and made little puking noises because my dialogue was pretty bad. And I will admit that it takes a person to be, have an open mind when you're like, oh, that stings. Oh, that stings. It's like, yeah, it's probably right. He's been right other times too, and I'll probably mention that as we go. But the first thing is to make a group of people who are willing to read your work, which if everybody's working professionals, it's going to be harder to do because everybody's busy, but it is possible. With some people, if you can invite a whole bunch of people over and do a reading of the script together, serve snacks, get pizza, make it more fun, you might have an easier time getting people to give you feedback and notes in a group setting like that. But either way, you're going to be looking for critique. Now, one thing to do is to figure out beforehand what kind of organizational strategy you're going to be using for that feedback. Are you going to be writing it in a notebook? Are you going to be, recording the session? And do please get permission from everybody before you record anything. That's necessary. But you could definitely set up a notebook or in your computer a file and do some organizing. So if you wanted to set it up like these are notes from first act, second act, third act, or if these are character notes, these are plot notes, these are whatever. It doesn't matter how you set it up, but you want to set it up where it's easy to keep track of it as you're going through. Because you're going to want to ask questions to clarify as you go, possibly. And you want to make sure that you're recording both what the note is and if you got clarification on the note. So you want to have set up some way to record the feedback that you're getting. And sometimes this will be good because if you put in together, I'm going to be writing notes in my computer as you say things. It also gives you a little bit of time if you get a note that you don't understand or that you're having an emotional response to, that time will give you the space you need to regroup yourself and to be a little bit more nonchalant about your response if it's something that really really gets to you. So you've gotten your reader or readers, you've set up some kind of note taking and organizing system. And then the biggest thing when you're going into it is to maintain your equilibrium. This can be hard, especially this is a script or a manuscript that you've been with for months or years. You've slaved over it. You've got, emotional reactions to the characters that you've created. You've lived with them, you've suffered with them, and you're very nervous about this, and you're going to be getting hopefully honest feedback. So you have to figure out ways to maintain your equilibrium. Do you have, a coffee or a soda or a, gallon of whiskey? Although you probably should give your reader some whiskey if there's going to be whiskey. But if you need to light a candle, if you want to put on some light music that's not going to be interrupting things, but whatever you do to kind of keep the room calm and nice, have snacks for your guest or guests, and make sure everyone's comfortable, seated in a place that's not going to be distracting. If you're meeting in more of an office setting, just to make sure everyone has utilized the restroom, and that you do bring water or something for you or the other person both to drink, because it's going to be lots of conversation. So the thing to also keep you cool and collected is to remember that this is this is friendly fire. It's not like, someone's coming in and going to be, giving you all sorts of feedback. They, in the end, want you to succeed. If you have a trusted reader, they do want you to succeed and for your script to be better. So if you try and keep in mind, this is the point of all of this, is to make things better and to help you succeed. That should help that knee-jerk reaction to protect your screenplay. Because in this case, you don't want to protect your screenplay. If you're going to be answering questions, that's one thing. If someone asks you, well, what did this character mean here? You can explain maybe what they meant, what you meant to do with it, but you're not trying to defend your manuscript at this point. You're trying to receive. So if you can keep in mind, you are being a receptive person rather than a combatant that is protecting something. because this is the point in time that you want people to be honest about how it's going. And maybe later down the road is, you protect it somehow. But right now, it's very important for you to spend the time wisely and not, make the person that's giving you the feedback feel bad about it, because you want them to be honest, because that's the only way your script is going to get better. The biggest thing that happens is that people will come to you with a note for something that's not working, and they're going to try and give you ideas to fix it. And I think that's probably the biggest pitfall, is you're thankful that people are trying to work out things, and you definitely want to jot these things down, because you may come back to it later. It may not feel good right now, but you come back to it later and go, oh, okay, that's a really good solve for this. In the end, I was a little hurt about it, but I think that's a good solve. But you want to be recording all of the feedback as notes, just to get it on the page so it's there and you have it. Now, what you'll generally find is that people have a sense of something that's not working for them, and they're reaching for things to make them feel better about it or to work it out. But you probably, in the end, can give them a better fix for a problem. Because you know the characters better, because you're thinking in that world. But you have to write down they're having a problem and they think it's X, but you know that something is just not working right there. Something is not going on in your second act, and they might have all sorts of things that they think is causing it, or the ways to fix it, but it's not always right, the cause or the fix from them. But you want to make sure, because especially if you have a couple read it and everybody at that second act part has an issue, something's wrong with your script and you're going to have to look at it. So it's important to be able to take that in as feedback, and to take with a grain of salt what they believe the problem might be, or what they might believe is the fix for it. Because usually some people go off and crazy, like, wouldn't it be fun if a Martian came? And that's really not where you want the script to go. But you want to be polite and take down the note, and then look for the, as they say, the note behind the note. What are they really responding to or not responding to? So that's generally where you're going to be with that, is you just want to make sure you record all of the notes and take a look back at it. You also want to make sure you always take a look at it again, because every once in a while there's something that you're not going to agree with, that you're like, no, I think that part is actually working. But you want to keep in mind that people aren't always, they're seeing it by this point, but maybe it's something that happened in the scene or the scene before leading up to that that's actually the problem. So you just have to keep in mind, it may be something that's starting earlier and they're just at the point where they're like, oh, I'm feeling out of it there, but it's actually a scene 2 scenes ago that their mind is stuck on. So you want to keep that in mind. You generally want to come with a set of your own questions. As a writer, you generally want to know if a certain thing that you tried worked. Was it really hitting them in the right way? But you should have at least 5 or 6 of your own questions that you'd like to have answered. And the nice thing about having multiple readers is that they will, some people won't have a problem at all with what you're looking at. They'll be like, no, that's fine, whatever. But other people will have other thoughts on it that will help inform why you're questioning what you're questioning. So it's good to come into it also so you don't have that lull, where it's like, do you have any questions? And they don't have any questions, and then you need to ask them questions to prompt them to look at some things that you've had questions about. The other thing that I always suggest is that you try to wait and see. Like, if you have an emotional reaction to something, to make sure, make sure you've got it written down, but make sure you go back to it. Again, with my partner, he was reading a script of mine, and he had something that I could tell he was wanting to say, but finally he's like, okay, I have this idea or this thought, and I'm just, I'm a little worried about saying it, but I really feel this way. And I was like, okay, what? He's like, I think you could totally get rid of this specific character. And I'm like, oh no, I couldn't. I worked so hard. But he made the case that except for one scene, the character never really made any difference in the rest of the script. Like, so one scene made a difference, probably in mid-act 2, maybe, if that, but didn't have any other impact on the screen. He's like, I think he's not necessary. I think that he's not adding anything to it. And in fact, I think he's distracting for all the other really exciting things that you have going on for your other characters. I think you could just lose the character. And so at first I was totally up on my hind legs. Oh no, I'm protecting my character. He's so important. I can't, how could you say that? But I was like, okay, I trust my reader. I'm gonna come back and look at this. So like, my mind was just like, absolutely not. No. I'm not ashamed to say that my writer sometimes sounds like a very petulant child. But in this case, like, I'm like, okay, let me cool off for a little bit, because I tend to be a little hot-headed. I'm going to cool off for a little bit, and then I'm going to go back and look and see if what he says is true. Does the character actually make any difference in the rest of the script? So I cooled down, went back, I looked at it, and he was right. Oh, and I hate that whole telling someone you love, you're right, you're completely right. But that's how it works, especially when they're really right. So in this case, it's like, okay, if I take this character out, does it make any difference? Can I do it? Does it add anything to the script that I'm needing to add back for anything else? And what I figured out is this is a different script. Like, if I was going to keep playing in this world, later on I might have this character as part of that world. But he didn't fit in that script. And my other characters were stronger because of it. So it was actually a really, like, something I thought that was going to be major that ended up taking him out made almost no difference. So that was a great note, but something that I had to process and take time with. So if you find yourself having an emotional reaction to something, the best thing to do is log the issue and then go back and check and see if that person is right, because sometimes they're going to be. So really, from the rest of getting your feedback, you just need to think of ways that you can, stifle the immediate knee-jerk emotional reactions for it, and to be able to take clear-headed notes. Because if you can be curious, if somebody gives you a note, if you can be curious and say, what questions would I ask if I was going to take this serious, if I was going to take this note seriously, and if I was going to be doing work on this, what would I need to know from my reader about this note to be able to do a good job of responding to it? So you want to take everything in good faith, but when you're going back through it, you'll figure it out if you do the work. Was this a note that makes sense? Are they responding to my actual words? Are they responding to something that's not there that should be? Are they responding to something that they're feeling that's not really there? How do I take that? But you want to be clear-headed and have the time to reflect back on it. So it's really important to take good notes and then just make sure that you come back to it when you've processed your emotional response to it. The last thing, you should always be appreciative and thankful for the people who give you notes. Even if you get nothing back from this particular note-taking session, if they have a good time, you have a good time, they might be willing to read again for you, and it could be that this other script is really going to be a great read for them, and all their notes are going to come in handy for that. So you want to make sure, if you have people who are willing to read your work, that you take good care of them and you appreciate them. If this means that you should send a thank you note at the end of this, or if you should be willing to be reciprocal and read for them, then you want to do that. You just keep in mind that you are the writer of this, so unless somebody's paying you to make changes, this is your script. You can make changes or not, however you like for it. But you should always take it seriously and always make sure that you're cataloging something, because you may come back to it later and it's a whole different feeling or vibe, or you're in a different headspace, and you'll read the notes on it and go, oh, that makes me think of the perfect solution for X, and you wouldn't have had that perfect solution if you hadn't gone through the note-taking process. So note-taking is hard. Just wanted to establish that no one really has an easy time taking notes, but it's an incredibly useful tool to be able to get feedback and make changes. And it also is a muscle, so you want to make sure that you're getting this muscle started, getting used to it, because at some point in time, somebody's going to be paying you and you're going to want to have a really good handle on your note-taking. So hopefully, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, that time comes for all of us and you're getting paid to make rewrite. So these notes are important to start that process, to get your sea legs under you, to use that muscle, whatever metaphor you want to use for that. But it's important to get used to taking notes, getting feedback, getting critique, and finding your group of safe writers. Not everyone is safe. There's people that, if you've gone through any writing training, you've had group sessions and you've had readers that are not helpful. So just to keep in mind who those readers are, who, when you're on your own and you get to choose your readers, who you want to have around you, who you feel safe with, and to always ask for feedback, because in the end, that feedback will be the difference between an okay script or a really great script in the end. So anyway, plan for a rewrite once you get your notes. We'll be covering that as we go. And in the meantime, happy writing. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.